I want to congratulate the House of Representatives for passing a vital and historic tax cut last week, and I'm very hopeful the Senate will do the same very soon. We're going to give the American people a huge tax cut for Christmas. Hopefully that will be a great, big, beautiful Christmas present.
President Trump speaking on tax reform in a cabinet meeting a short time ago. Sandra's making me laugh. It's her fault. Those comments as Senate lawmakers are set for a showdown on taxes, now planning to vote on their bill after Thanksgiving. The slim Republican majority means they can only afford to lose 2 votes. We know several GOP senators are on the fence, including Susan Collins of Maine, who says she likes a few things in the House bill better than the Senate plan, like permanent cuts for individuals and a slightly higher corporate tax rate.
Good Lord.
I haven't reached that conclusion yet because I think there are going to be further changes. But the biggest mistake was putting in a provision from the Affordable Care Act into the Senate bill that's not in the House bill. And I hope that will be dropped, or that bills that have been introduced by Senators Alexander Murray and Bill Nelson and myself will be adopted to mitigate the impact of those provisions.
Collins says repealing the Obamacare mandate in the tax bill is a bad idea. You just heard that. It's something the Trump administration is pushing for hard, but apparently not at the expense of derailing tax reform. Listen to Budget Director Mick Mulvaney.
I don't think anybody doubts where the White House is on repealing and replacing Obamacare. We absolutely want to do it. If we can repeal part of Obamacare as part of a tax bill and have a tax bill that is still a good tax bill that can pass, that's great. If it becomes an impediment to getting the best tax bill we can, then we're okay with taking it out. So I think it's up to the Senate and the House to sort of hammer out those details.
But every time they talk about tinkering with something in and out or whatever, you have to remember there's math behind that. And by if they get rid of repealing the mandate, that screws up the math.
To keep it real simple, when they pass a budget, they set the number for reconciliation. So this $1.5 trillion is not some arbitrary number. It's a number that the Senate came up with. They could have picked $3 trillion. They could have picked whatever number they wanted. So they're stuck with this 1.5 in order to make the 10-year math work. And that's why there's all this jockeying back and forth. What I personally would like to see is the United States Senate vote on the House bill. The House bill had, a very impressive vote.
That would have passed?
But put it up. What's more frustrating to me as a former member of Congress, and I think to the American people, is when they don't vote. Put people on the record. Let's see who actually is opposed to cutting taxes on Americans. And some of these people are arguing that we have to pay for these tax cuts. Since when do you have to pay, quote unquote, pay to allow people to keep their own money in their own wallet? If they wanted to do that, they shouldn't have passed a $47 trillion 10-year budget. They needed to cut spending.
Exactly. They need to cut spending because you hear this term revenue neutrality. That's the money that you're bringing in. We should be talking about deficit neutrality. That's the money that you're spending and overcommitting that money that you're going to have to borrow on in the future. Cutting out the individual mandate helps them philosophically, but it also helps them with reconciliation. There are so many other areas where they could cut money from programs.
They
just don't have the political will to do it.
They all voted for a $47 billion 10-year budget.
They can do it when they pass the budget. He's absolutely right about that. When they go and they tinker with the budget, that's why you saw so many cost cutters in the House vote against the bill, not for taxes, but because it's immoral to spend money you don't have.
Can we go to another thing that Susan Collins said she found wrong with the current Senate plan, that the cut to the corporate tax rate is too low, 20%.
I don't get that.
I don't understand that. Why it's so hard for Republicans to cut taxes? The president has said, cut the corporate tax, make sure the middle class gets a tax relief. His objectives are pretty clear, and they can't see.
Katie, it's so frustrating to see people befuddled by the rules they themselves created.
Well,
that's what's amazing to me with these lawmakers.
Well, the interesting thing with Senator Collins going after the corporate tax rate, when there's all these other things the White House is willing to negotiate on, the White House has made it very clear that the corporate tax rate is a red line. They are not willing to go above what they have offered and put on the table for the plan that they want, for the structure that the president put forward that has now been made into 2 different pieces of legislation. So for her to go after that indicates to me that she's not exactly interested.
No.
Right, she's not interested in actually negotiating the rest of the bill.
Maybe they'll start businesses if there's this attractive low corporate rate.
There you go.